All right, Sage. Why don't we flick the ticker rubber? That was pretty good for the John Lynch
Yeah,
conversation, but
we'll get
I
some
think
YouTube flicks
I
out of
think
that.
this is what the people came here for,
They
right? I
want to see
mean,
us go at each other.
like 100%, like this has to be the number one topic across 49ers media. Are they going to extend Purdy?
Yes, sir.
What are they going to do with Purdy? Are you going to draft a guy? Are you going to let him play out the last year of his contract? Are you going to sign him now? Are you going to sign him to 65 million, to 45 million? A lot of different takes, a lot of different opinions. A lot of them have switched over the past 5 weeks. Sage, go ahead, my man. What do we do with Brock Purdy? Should the 49ers extend Brock Purdy?
I think I took the floor last time. You want me to go again? I feel like I'm getting tired of my own voice here.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to cop out here. I'm just going to say neither. Let him play out the last year. Let him play out the last year of his contract.
Okay.
I think this is a wasted year at this point, right? You got the Debo situation. You got like all this off-field shit. He looks terrible, but I think you got to play it out, right? You got to just see what next year's about. You could pay him early, and if he turns out like the only benefit you have to paying him early, I think, is if he turns out next year he's a stud. And you're like, okay, we saved whatever the market's going to be next year when it goes up. We don't have to pay him that. Other than that, there's really no benefit to paying him early. What is he going to do? Hold out? Like, is he really going to hold out on you? I don't think it's in him to hold out. I don't think he can hold out. I don't think he can afford to miss game checks. I really don't. Especially if no one ends up paying him. He's just like he's still got to prove it. So he's not going to hold out on you. I think it's make him play out the last year of his rookie contract. If you still don't know, you could franchise tag him, but I don't think you should do that. But I'm just saying you don't have to pay him now. You shouldn't pay him now. I don't know why this is such a hot topic that he should be paid right now. It's not even just Niners media, it's national media talking about it. And I think it's because like a Niners beat writer just falsely reported because no one backed it up. There was no Jay Glazer, no Rappaport, no Schefter, that Purdy's seeking 60 million, top of the market. And then I didn't see any report after it since Tuesday. So I don't know. I think you have to let him play it out. If the decision were on my table today, I would not pay him though. I don't know how you feel about that.
Okay, so we're going to have to adjust this a little bit because what I'm going to say is, Sage, that I agree with you. Would I sign him this year? Probably not. Probably not, right? I mean, I'm not jumping on the fucking table waiting to sign him for 4 years, $65 million. I don't think anybody is. The reality is that paying Brock Purdy $65 million a year to be your quarterback is going to be a hard pill to swallow. Is he really worth 25% of your team's cap? No. No, he's not. He's not. But every quarterback in the league that's worth a damn is getting that kind of money. So you got to think about it, Sage. You're saying, what do they have to lose? Or what do they have to gain by signing Brock Purdy to a $65 million a year contract this year? What's the likely scenario that's going to play out next year, Sage? After next year? Like, what happens after next year, no matter what, with the quarterback position for the 49ers?
Assuming he's not signed, right?
Yeah. That he plays it out.
Him. They're saying that he plays that. They're going to sign him, or they're just going to let him go.
Exactly. So this is the thing, Sage. The 49ers, within the next 2 years, are going to sign Brock Purdy to a major extension. That's my belief. I don't think that they're going to go to the draft to draft a guy. I've been looking through all the quarterbacks in the league currently right now. I'll be honest. I haven't done my draft conversation yet, but I think
much to do.
I think the Niners are looking at about a 3-year window with this roster before it really gets to the shitty part, where you really got to kind of blow it up or retool it to a point where you're pushing the can down the road a couple of years. What I'm saying is that you got to sign Brock Purdy. No, but you got to sign Brock Purdy.
You're saying you do it now.
I'm saying do it now. I'm saying do it now because all you're going to do is make it more expensive next year. That's really all you're going to do. Because if you reset the market this year, eventually it's going to be only about the 10th most expensive contract in the NFL down the road.
Okay.
And if you just wait a year, then you're just going to make it even more expensive.
I understand that, but I don't even think it's more so about a price thing, right? Like you look at like the teams that extend their quarterbacks too early, right? The Dolphins, the Jags, the Cowboys. Right now, right? They would all take those contracts back, except maybe the Jags. But I think if you offered the Cowboys to take back the Dak contract, if you offered the Dolphins to take back the Tua contract, they do it in the snap of a finger. So this is what I was thinking, because I was like, look at the quarterbacks who have gotten paid, right? Trevor Lawrence, 5 years, 275 million, 55 per year. Jordan Love, 4 years, 220 million, 55 per year. Looks like that actually might have worked out. Dak, we know he's getting 60 mil, Tua, 53 million. What's the common theme here, right? Shitty franchises and then the Packers who got lucky. Well, in my opinion. And you just look at like the well-run organizations. Look at the Ravens. Lamar won an MVP, was on the second to last year. He was in the same position Brock is, where he's due for the extension. What do they say? Wait. They made him wait. They made him play out the year.
But what they eventually do, Sage, they just made him more expensive on themselves.
But wouldn't you rather pay him knowing you have it? Because then there was they were not even hesitant. They're like, take it. Like, you earned it. Take it. We wanted to see it. You got it. Right? We took the training wheels off. We made you pass. We put you in a non-run heavy offense. He stopped running the ball as much. They let him pass. They saw, do you know what? We have something special here. We're gonna fucking pay this guy. And they haven't looked back on it since, right? Their patience paid off for them. So you look at the teams that pay early, like I said, the Dolphins. Would they take it back? Fuck yeah, they would. The Jags, the Cowboys just made Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in league history. Chase, they were 3-5 with him. They are 3-3 without him. 3-3 without him, 3-5 with him.
I mean, there's some bad ones, man. I mean, you got Kirk making 45 mil, you got Derek Carr making 50 mil. But when you just look at it like that, right? Derek Carr making $50 million a year. Brock Purdy's getting 60. Brock Purdy's getting 65. And the reality is, Sage, he'll get that on the open market. So if you're
really
Kyle Shanahan,
do you really think that?
Yeah, I do. If people are paying Kirk Cousins before this offseason, $45 million a year for 40 years, I do think that there's going to be at least one or two teams that are going to pay that amount for Brock Purdy. And if somebody's willing to pay you $60 million a year, that's your value.
But who do you think would do it? The only team I saw that I think makes sense is the Saints. Other than that, like, who needs a quarterback that you could see paying Purdy? The Giants? He can't throw in cold weather. It'd have to be a
Raiders. Would you see the Raiders doing it?
Yeah, but then it's like you have to go to Kansas City. You know what I mean?
What about
like,
the Dolphins?
I can't see an AFC team doing it. I can't see an AFC team doing it because they play in cold weather more so. And if you're just a dumb franchise and you realize this guy can't throw unless the conditions are perfect, then you just don't deserve your job. Every Niners fan who's honest and not named David Lombardi will tell you this guy cannot throw in the heat. He cannot throw in the cold. He cannot throw on a train. He cannot throw on a fucking plane. This guy needs everything to be perfect weather-wise. He hasn't done it this year without his convoy of like perfect weapons, right? So what's to say he goes to, say, the Saints and he's worth that contract? You're just stuck with a bad contract. I don't even think they could pay him because of how fucked their cap situation is. Like, I get it. You're fearful. He's going to hold out, whatever. I'll be damned if I
don't think he would do a major holdout. I really don't.
See, that's the thing though, too, is I don't
see him sitting out week one.
No, I don't. But that's the topic I'm seeing. And
yeah.
I'm not addressing you here. I'm kind of addressing the media when they say, like, what if he holds out on you? I'll be damned if I'm going to let Brock Purdy and his agent hold me over a barrel, gun to my head, holding me hostage. That's reserved for guys like Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, who, if I put him on the open market, fuck Deebo Samuel. We were offered the 10th pick by the Jets, the 10th pick in the draft by the Jets for Deebo Samuel. Trent Williams, trading for a first-round pick tomorrow. Nick Bosa, trading for 2 first-round picks. Brock Purdy, what's he getting us in the trade market? Like, I'm not going to be fucking held over a barrel by that guy, especially when I just don't think he deserves it. Like, I get it. That's what quarterbacks make. You could say it. It's the position, but what can you fetch? What is actually your value? And if another team wants to pay you, another team could pay you. There's a lot of parallels between the NBA. When you get fucked, is it when you pay Steph Curry $60 million a year? No, it's when you pay Michael Porter Jr., Klay Thompson $40 million a year. That's when you get fucked. Same thing in the NFL. When do the Dolphins get fucked? Cut back on the defense, right? Because you paid your quarterback. The Jags, right? Pay Trevor Lawrence, can't make as many free agent moves. You get fucked. Your team's not as skilled, and you have a mid quarterback.
Okay, this is what I'll say, Sage. I expect the Niners to play hardball a little bit. I really do. I mean, they did it with Trent.
They're good at it.
They played hardball. No, I mean, they always kind of bail in, but think about it. Jerry Jones did the same thing with Dak Prescott. The Redskins, RIP that name, but did that with Kirk Cousins back in the day. A lot of these teams are accepting that they really don't want to pay these quarterbacks, but they always come to the point that they really have to. The Niners have been good, and they're not just going to hand out free money. They're just not going to give money to even guys like Trent Williams, guys like Deebo Samuel. right? I mean, they've been doing this for the past 5 years. So I expect them to play hardball a little bit. But, Sage, say after next year, maybe Brock has a similar year. Then what do you do? What's the next best situation for the 49ers? If Brock maybe even plays a little bit better, but it's not that convincing, what options do you have if you're the 49ers? You have a guy who, in all honesty, has played 3 years in Kyle Shanahan's system, is a young quarterback's age. I mean, how many 24-year-old quarterbacks have been to a Super Bowl, been to 2 NFC Championship games, been in the MVP conversation? Brock Purdy has done a lot. I get it, man. I get it. Clearly, limited physically. Clearly. He's small, doesn't have a strong arm. We know the bad weather stuff, but we've seen him run that Kyle Shanahan offense and have it look great. We know that he's mobile and he has playmaking ability. Also, just getting thrown into the wind against Miami, winning 8 games in a row, that's pretty good. We saw him in a Super Bowl pretty much match up with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree until he couldn't. But he did enough.
I know.
He did enough. There was never a fear when Purdy had the ball that they're scoring no matter what. Obviously, we're comparing him to Mahomes, but when Mahomes has the ball, he's scoring. I get it, and I agree with it. That's why I just think
there is good stuff to look at with Brock Purdy.
I know, but
just the physical stuff is tough to look over. I will admit, it's tough.
I'm just saying, but like you look at the difference between last year and this year, right? The team has clearly regressed in every aspect of the team. They've regressed, and he's regressed with them. He hasn't elevated them. Like you could say, oh, he carried them to 2 NFC championships back-to-back years in his first 2 years.
He did play great in that NFC championship game, Sage.
I know, but he's not carrying the boats here. He's not carrying the logs. Like a guy like Josh Allen, he's carrying the boats, right? You look at that, that's a carry job. I think Purdy's just only as good as the parts around him, and it seems like he's regressed. I'm sorry, like last year, number 1 against man coverage. This year, I think it's like 38th against man coverage. His ball, time to pass, it's gone down. He's holding on too long. I just don't think he trusts what he sees. His decision-making, it's gone down. And I don't know if this year it's one of those things where it just how the schedule lines up. I just feel like they've been in so many more, different various weather situation games. And you see it, right? Like in the snow, dude. If it wasn't in front of the sticks, he could not complete a pass. I get it. That's the snow. Say what you want. In the heat, ball slipping out of his hands.
I know.
Chase,
yeah.
We said it when we played the Cardinals. We're like, is it me or is this heat? And because I didn't think it was possible for the heat to affect a quarterback that much. And we're like, I guess it's the heat. Like what could it be? Yeah. Like how is the heat making this much of an impact? So when you need it to be that perfect, and we talked about it, the roster's only getting worse. I think what he had last year is as good of a roster, and I'll be damned. Like that's as good of a roster as you might see in your lifetime not win a Super Bowl, but it's only going to get worse from here, right? He was an older rookie. I think it's like a Bo Nix situation where he's closer to his peak than he is to like building up. And I just think like what you see is what you're going to get for the rest of his career. Maybe a few things improve, but when you come in and your decision-making is your strength and your arm ain't getting a lot better, I just think that this is what you got. So you kind of know what you got. Obviously, you make him play it out, see where he could take you with this roster, but it seems like you're trapped. I just think it's like a trap thing.
I don't know, Sage. I mean, do you blame? You got to throw some blame on the fact that guys like Deebo Samuel, clearly not the same guy. Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL. Christian McCaffrey's not out there the entire year. I mean, a lot of people have been throwing out the stats, but I'm pretty sure that was close to about like 40 touchdowns from last year, right? You lose a couple guys on the O-line.
Yeah, McCaffrey had to be like 25 himself almost.
The defense is clearly not the same defense. Kyle Shanahan deserves some blame here too. He's not been having the best play calling year at all.
John Lynch?
So maybe Sage will blame John Lynch too for the rest of the roster, but we've seen Brock Purdy in his first 2 years play really well. This year was obviously a little bit of a drop-off. Is that just related to the fact that the league has figured him out, or that the entire roster's been drained and there's nothing really around him this year? I will say, I mean, we're gonna keep on saying it till the cows come home. The stuff in weather is fucking frightening. Throw in a guy like that, $65 million a year, where you know your team's going to be in a big game situation in the next 4 years, where you got to go to a Green Bay, you got to go up to Seattle. Who knows? Maybe even Santa Clara. It's going to rain, and he can't get it to 10 yards past the sticks, right? That's scary. Makes you very hesitant to sign him. But, Sage, a lot of people always gloss over this fact when having these conversations. What's the alternative, right? What's
I
the
get it.
alternative?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because Kyle Shanahan's not going to go back and draft a guy. I really don't believe that. I think
No, it'll be a vet.
he's dipped his toes in there. Looked like a fool. I mean, I said it. I think Trey Lance is a top 3 bust of all time. I think they're not going to go anywhere near the draft for a quarterback. Kirk Cousins, you going to pay that guy $40 million a year after what you're seeing? He literally just got benched by Michael Penix. Something that I would like, Trevor Lawrence, you're only paying Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year. Would you give up 3 first-round picks for him? So what are your options? I really don't think there are any. If you sign Brock this year, you get him at what the market rate is now compared to what it could be in a year. And I do think that a lot of quarterbacks have expiring contracts. I don't know the exact names, but there's going to be some more quarterbacks getting signed next year as well. So really what you're doing, you're just risking that it's going to be 5, maybe even, who knows, $10 million more per year if you wait till next year when you already know that you're going to sign Brock to an extension. It's tough. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow. We have our concerns. But if you know that you're not going to go for a guy in the draft, no one else in the league interests you, you maybe just got to say fuck it and put the money on there. Sage, like we brought up, this window's going to be over the next 2 to 3 years. I trust Parag. I trust all those guys to make the first couple of years of the deal spaced out to where you get a lot of the money in the last couple of years of the contract. So I feel like there will be ways to sign Brock and make it work in your favor for the next 2 to 3 years as you push for a Super Bowl. I don't disagree with you. I would, you know what, my first number one option would be to let him play it out this year. But I just don't think that's a reality. I really don't.
Hey, let me take you through the free agent quarterbacks for this offseason, right? I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to read through like realistic ones, right? Sam Darnold, the hot ticket going around, who, if you really look into it, turnover issue hasn't gone away, right? He has a really good situation with KOC where you see what Kirk Cousins is and you see what he looked like when he was with the Vikings and everything. Great running back, best receiver in the league, damn near one of the best 2 options, TJ Hawkinson back. He has a really good situation, right? You saw what he was with the Panthers. You saw what he was on the Niners that 1 week he got to play. I'm not too hot on Sam Darnold. I don't know why he's the hot ticket going around.
That's been the number one thing going around right now.
Yeah, he's the
name.
Get
Sam Darnold for 45.
Zach Wilson, who I've seen. Justin Fields.
Nope.
Joe Flacco, Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo. You could talk me into that one. We could get into that one. And then Russell Wilson. So,
I mean, is Russ going anywhere the next couple of years?
What do you mean? Are you saying as opposed to is he leaving?
Are you saying that Russell Wilson's an option?
I'm saying he's an option. Yeah, no, I'm just reading the free agents. Like I'm saying, when you said what's the alternative, I'm just giving them to you. I'm not saying any of these are.
But we saw what happened with Matt Ryan as well in that Shanahan offense. The first year is always going to be an adjustment year for any quarterback. So even if you do bring a guy like Russell Wilson in there, he's old. Who knows? I still don't think he's that good. And compared to a guy like Purdy who's been there for 3 years, is that really a better option?
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. I don't think there is a better option. That's why it's scary. That's why I said the Niners just feel like they're trapped, because you understand that when you don't sign Purdy, right? Because you're basically kicking, you're shutting the window. When you don't extend Purdy, you're shutting the window. You're saying, are we going to trade our long-term success of pursuing and finding a franchise quarterback to try and win now if we believe we could win now? My argument is I don't think they could win now. I think the roster got old. They're injury prone and they just aren't that same team. So I just think, how could you sign him? Right? You got to just kind of look for the next thing.
But if you look for the next thing, Sage, you really do punt away the next 2 to 3 years. And I think,
you got to make.
I think the main difference in mine and your opinion is that you think they're done, right? You don't see any hope for this team. You kind of brought up with the John Lynch segment. You don't think that he's been doing good the past 4 years. You don't even see any good young guys on the roster. So what's the point? You have aging guys, they're getting injured. We don't have a shot to get back on that Detroit, Philly level just in the NFC alone. I'm different. I think that they have a lot of good pieces on the roster still. A lot of good cornerstone pieces as well. Those are key things that you need to have in the NFL. You just need to get rid of some of that dead money like Deebo Samuel, Javon Hargrave, Mooney Ward. Allocate that to the lines, guys all on the O-line, D-line, and you got to hit on your draft picks. I mean, that's just every team in the NFL. Like you brought up with Philly. They've been hitting all their picks the past 2 years. That's what allowed them to have a bounce-back year this year with getting guys like Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, improving the secondary that was probably their biggest struggle last year. So I think this team's still in the hunt. And you just got to lock up Brock. You got to make sure that you have a solid quarterback. If you don't have a solid quarterback, you really don't have anything in this league. Like I said, Sage, there's ways to move Brock's money in the contract to the later years where you still have space in the cap for the next 2 to 3 years when you're really pushing for a Super Bowl to get a good roster in there, to get some depth. Also, you got $51 million rolling in to next year's salary as well. So that doesn't hurt either.
No, I get it. There's just too much to do, right? There's just like, it's not like an easy fix how Philly was. Philly, it seemed like they had the D-line, they had the O-line, they had the receivers. Obviously, you signed Saquon. You didn't really need to upgrade the running back. You upgrade the running back. I think with the Niners, it's you got to upgrade the O-line. You got to upgrade the D-line. You got to upgrade. Maybe you don't have to upgrade the receivers, but
I feel like everything else other than the O-line and the D-line, relatively solid, Sage. Am I wrong?
Yeah, but it's not like it's like a one-player fix is the issue. It's got to be a multiple-player fix for both sides.
The O-line's tough. The O-line's tough. When you look at, I will say, according to your PFF, McKivitz not looking that bad, but I really don't like Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel.
I don't like Aaron Banks at all.
I mean, I think Jake Brendel is one of the worst centers in the league. That really does kill you, especially with that zone run game. And I don't like McKivitz either. So I think you need to do a major rehaul on that O-line. Also, you got Trent, so who knows? Is he going to be playing next year? Is he going to be playing in 2 years? You got to bring in a lot of new young pieces to that O-line and give Nick Bosa some help. I mean, that was what we kind of hung our hat on the past 3 years. Rushing 4, having the defense go through the D-line. That's not the case anymore, especially that interior, Sage. I think that's where they need to get their first pick. They need to get a fucking interior D lineman, just a run stopper, a guy who could get after the quarterback. Because now, if you get rid of Javon Hargrave, who else is in there?
Yeah,
you have nobody. You have nobody.
The bright side is you're going to get a top 15, maybe a top 10 pick, right? I would bet my bottom dollar they draft an interior D lineman. Although it hasn't gone well with Kinlaw and Solomon Thomas, third time's the charm. I think that you're scouting now, right? The scouting begins.
Hey,
now.
give him credit. Nick Bosa, that was a good pick.
The pick.
I will say, Sage, okay, because this is something you brought up in the past. I remember being down at San Diego State, listening to 95.7 The Game. Rod Brooks, or no, KMBR. Rod Brooks and Fitzgerald, the Warriors announcer. They were not sure about Nick Bosa. There was a lot of injury concerns with him coming out of Ohio State.
That's true.
A lot of people were saying, who was the guy that the Jets picked at number 3? Quinnen Williams?
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted to go with Quinnen Williams. Yeah. So even though we're kind of poo-pooing that as an obvious pick, it really wasn't if you look back at it.
He's a stud, though. You would have gone. He's not Nick
Quinnen
Bosa. Williams?
Damn
near not Nick Bosa, but it wouldn't have been Solomon Thomas.
It would have been a terrible pick, but Nick Bosa is the defensive player of the year, right? I think he's the highest defensive player in the league. So clearly they hit on that pick.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you know what's funny? This is going to sound blasphemous. I love Bosa. I think great pick, whatever. I don't think he's as big a difference maker as some of these other DNs, but I don't know. That's just me. Like when I look at like a TJ Watt, a Myles Garrett, I think I'd take them over Bosa.
But that's a hard bar to set, Sage. When you're
I get it.
Hey, 2 of the best defensive players of the past 10 years. I don't see you on those guys' levels. Like, okay, what's wrong with being the third?
No, because you're bringing up the contract and stuff. I'm like, yeah, he's the highest paid, and you could look at that, but is he the best? Like, no.
No, I know. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying, right? He's like the most valued currently guy in the NFL.
No, I agree. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. I'll say that. If I
So because you were a little bit more hesitant on Purdy, what do you think happens? Do they sign him this offseason?
I don't think they do, man. Like you see this whole thing, right? Like when the next guy's up, right? Whether it's Derek Carr, Jimmy G, Dak Prescott, 3 guys who were the next up, no matter their skill level. They were just the next up. You make them the highest paid quarterback. I think the Niners are a smart franchise. They're well run. They realize, okay, it never works. Like we have hindsight to our advantage now. We could tell you it hasn't worked. It's been a bust every time. And you kind of see it with Purdy, right? He's a good quarterback. Some days he's a great quarterback. Some days he's an awful quarterback, right? You don't pay guys in that caliber top tier money. So the price got to be right. If the price is $60 million, the price is wrong, bitch. And I just think you got to let him walk. You just got to agree to disagree.
See, I don't know, Sage. I think that with all these quarterback contracts, when you look at them 5 years down the road, they're not even going to be in the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks. So I think it's just something that you have to do. I mean, across the NFL, we see that where it's like, oh my God, you can't sign Kirk Cousins to $60 million. They do it. You can't sign Dak Prescott to $65 million. They do it.
Has it ever worked out where people are like, you can't sign him to this, and then they're like, oh, it was a good, like, I don't.
Yeah,
think
but
it's
also
ever
a lot of
worked
those teams, they don't have Kyle Shanahan as the coach, and they don't have guys like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Trent Williams. Like, there's a lot of other underlying factors of that too. The reality is that Brock Purdy's going to be the quarterback in 3 years. They're going to sign him. They're not going to go for anybody different. He gives you the best chance to win a Super Bowl, and I truly believe this, than any other realistic option out there for the next 2 to 3 years. So I think you just gotta bite the bullet and pay him. Just get it in right now before it gets even more expensive. I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm happy to pay Brock Purdy $65 million. But that's just how the NFL works. Quarterbacks, there's only so many good ones out there, probably about 16. They're clearly the most important asset in all of football. So to get your hands on a good one, you're going to have to pay top dollar, even amounts that are going to make you a little bit uncomfortable. 49ers fans, probably a lot of them are going to be pissed off, but just get over it. You still got Shanahan. You got to just build up the O-line, D-line. You got good pieces around Brock. They're going to make the salary cap work for the next 2 to 3 years. Calma. It's not too bad. There's worse situations to be in.
It's the